One more thing. The Dallas Mavericks Summer League team loses their first game. OMax Prosper doesn't dominate. Is it time to panic? No.
I'm here because I have to be.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's it. It's me versus the machine. Don't let his lightness take away from his quickness.
You can rest later. You're young.
And then recover here.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah, welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode, we'll talk about the Mavs in the Summer League. We'll talk about the Mavs loss to the Jazz in Summer League. We'll talk about how OMax looked, Melvin Ajinca looked. We'll talk about a couple of the standouts, Brandon Williams, Jazz Gortman, Emanuel Miller. Some guys looking pretty good there. But one of the things I do actually want to talk about a lot, and we'll probably save some of it for the show on Sunday night. Nico Harrison said the Mavs are a Klay Thompson away from winning a title last year. Ooh, that's interesting. Nico Harrison said a couple other things too, so we'll talk about some of those things. But let's start here. The Mavs Summer League team comes out and they lose the game 90-89. It came down to the final couple seconds. There was a challenge at the end with 2 seconds left. Melvin Ajinca fouls Kenny Lawson on a very bumbling, burrowing drive down the lane. He gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, goes 1 of 2, and they end up, the Jazz end up winning the game there. The Mavs had some moments where they just looked really good at times. The Summer League Mavs, if you need a reminder of who's on this Summer League Mavs team, OMax Prosper is the guy that everyone should be watching. Mavs fans should be watching. He was the first round pick last year that the Mavs traded for. The guy we've been watching in, for the Texas Legends of the G League all year last year. A guy that kind of the only guy on this roster to me that could potentially break into the Mavericks rotation next year. And so we're watching OMax. We'll talk about how OMax did. AJ Lawson is also on this roster, is also on the Summer League roster. He's also on the Mavs roster still. He's got a non-guaranteed contract, so a lot of people think that if the Mavs decide to bring back Markieff Morris and then add somebody else, that AJ Lawson would be the one that would fall out of the roster right there. Brandon Williams was on a two-way last year. I think the Mavericks just signed him back to be on a two-way. Melvin Ajinca is on this roster, who was the Mavs' 51st draft pick this past season that we talked about. Alex Fudge is on this team, who was on the Mavs roster last year. You've got Emanuel Miller and Jazz Gortman, who the Mavericks actually just recently signed camp invites. We'll talk about them. I thought they had some good things. There's Marjan Sharp, who was like the 7'5" huge center the Mavs got from Ole Miss. And so we'll talk about some of those. We'll talk about some of those guys and how they impacted the game. But I want to start with OMax Prosper, because he's the one guy that you're kind of watching on this team. Like I said, he's the only one that I think could really break into the Mavs rotation in any meaningful way. He finishes with 11 points, 2 of 11 from the field, misses all 4 of his threes, goes 7 of 8 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, a block, 2 turnovers. He's a -3, and just didn't have a lot of like these moments where you go, oh, he's better than everyone. And I feel like that's the type of thing that we look for in Summer League, where it's like, okay, is he going to stand out against everyone else? Does he look like he's too good? You think about, how Brandon Miller looks. Brandon Miller played for the Charlotte Hornets Summer League team, and you watch him play and you go, oh, okay, yeah, he's better than everyone else. 23 points, goes out there, does what he's supposed to do, scores, the Hornets win their game. And you're like, okay, he's better than everyone else. OMax didn't have those moments, but you also have to remember what kind of player OMax is. He's a complimentary wing player. He's a guy that's going to go out there and do the dirty work. He's a guy that's go out there and maybe knock down some shots, maybe attack off the dribble off some closeouts. He's not a guy you put the ball in his hands and you go to work. Brandon Williams was the best Maverick on the floor to me. 21 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 5 assists, only 4 turnovers in a Summer League game was very good. In 30 minutes, had some really big moments, hit some big threes. Was the only, one of only 2 Mavericks that hit multiple threes in this game. They were struggling to shoot the 3 ball. But those are the types of players that thrive in Summer League. Put the ball in their hands, do stuff, can thrive when there's not really a scheme, because you get like a week to put it together, and then you go out there and you play these games and it's so frantic. That first quarter, I barely wrote down any notes because I was just like, it's so frantic and wild, and there's just nothing concrete going on, and there's no way to kind of evaluate a guy when all they're doing is just kind of running around trying to play catch up and like, oh my God, I missed here, and oh my God, I was supposed to go over there, and oh my God, I'm going over here. So I'm not going to freak out about OMax not having a good summer league game. Our friend Panda Hank, who has a very great YouTube channel, who posts a lot of like, highlight videos and really quick highlights and things like that. He's on it all the time. Posted this. Don't forget about summer league. Jalen Brunson averaged 7 points on 23% from the field, 30% from three in summer league. He finished 5th in MVP voting this past season. Kevin Knox averaged 21 points, won the summer league MVP in his first season. And he's still playing in summer league this season in his 7th season. So you can't overreact to summer league. If a guy doesn't look like he belongs, like it's not just shooting, but they don't show you anything else, then all of a sudden you can be like, oh no. Especially if they're like a first round pick, supposed to be like, if they don't look like they belong on the court, and you can go, okay. But if it's just shooting, so OMax goes 2 of 11. He forced a lot of shots, but you could tell that they were trying to get him to practice attacking closeouts, getting to the rim. And he had a couple of good moments. Hit a couple in the first half. Like I said, he was 2-11, hit both of those two in the first half. When he got to the paint, stopped, pulled up, got a little bit of a floater off of a post up or a hook shot off of a post up. Some good looking moves where he can get there. And he's going to get to the free throw line. This is something that we've known about OMax's game. 7 of 8 from the free throw line, got to the free throw line 4 times with some of those passes. Defensively, I don't think he stood out too much to me. I don't remember a ton about him defensively, but he got 2 steals and a block. He had a couple of good defensive moments. I'll say that, but it wasn't like he was guarding their ball handlers all the time, locking them down and things like that. But he had some good moments where he created some stops, got out in transition, and that's one thing that this Mavs team did really well in this game is get out in transition. They finished the game 29 fast break points. That's a lot. That's a lot in the summer league game. Utah only had 15. And so with OMax, you're looking at, all right, how does he look in this kind of environment? It's really hard to simulate playing with NBA playmakers and doing all that. He showed some good things. He showed some good playmaking. He showed some good, he made some plays, got to the, took some open shots, missed those. We'll see how he looks in another game, but I'm not going to freak out if he just doesn't look excellent in this game. The other player that I kind of think that stood out to me is Melvin Ajinca. He has an opportunity, and Jared Greenberg kind of reported this during the game, which I thought was interesting. Jared Greenberg, the NBA TV broadcaster, he said he'd been talking to the Mavs, and the Mavs told him if Melvin Ajinca shows enough in Summer League, he could earn the Mavericks' last roster spot. We kind of knew this because Melvin is the guy that, the Mavs could draft and stash. He could stay over in France, or he could come over and take the Mavs roster spot. He's a 6'8 wing. Jared Dudley said that he was kind of a point forward. He can handle the ball and pass a little bit. We know him as he's going to be this 3-and-D type of guy. And so we're like, all right, what's he going to look like in this game? Because now all of a sudden, this is an opportunity for him to really shine and to really earn a roster spot this year. Plays 24 minutes, 13 points, 5 rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block, 4 turnovers. He forced it a lot. Missed 4 out of his 5 threes, so he hit 1. 5 of 13 from the field. Went to the free throw line, hit both of those. And yeah, was forcing the issue, but I thought I saw some good things from him. Saw some defensive stuff from him, forcing turnovers just like we talked about with OMax. He's not afraid to take shots, which I think is important for this Mavericks team too. He showed a little bit of like a drive and dish kind of game. He had a couple good drive and dishes. He had some good moments in this game. AJ Lawson got a huge, massive chase down block in the second quarter. Then AJ runs the other end of the court and got a layup on the other end. And Ajinca was the one that threw him the pass. Great pass in the lane. He showed some good passing ability. Ajinca in the first quarter with like 5:40 left after an Emanuel Miller steal, he got an alley-oop on the other end. So you saw that he can get up and he's a high flyer a little bit. So that's good. We saw a couple of times him running some pick and pops, which I found very interesting. He was running pick and pops with Brandon Williams, where Brandon Williams has the ball. Ajinca comes up and sets a screen for him, rolls out to the 3-point line, and he did get one of the only 3 that he hit. He got off of that. Saw him get some blocks. We saw him, get out and drive. We saw him attack a closeout and drive and finish a couple times. He had a really good third quarter. He had. He finished with 9 points, 9 of his 13 points in the third quarter, a couple of rebounds in that quarter too. Melvin Ajinca showed me some things. So that's kind of what you're looking for in summer leagues. Like, all right, can you show me a couple things? Can you look like you belong out there? If you're missing shots, I'm okay with that. As long as the shots and the way that you get to them are good. Some of Melvin's were forced for sure. Some of OMax's were forced for sure. But both those guys showed me a couple things. There's a bunch of other players that showed me some things too. So let's talk about those guys coming up and talk about who else stood out for the Dallas Mavericks coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience is the formula that helps you get exactly what you need for your car, truck, motor carriage, whatever you got. Check it out at eBay Motors. And you know that eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with more over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts that you need, the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
Thanks for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs. The one more thing, it's the bonus episode version of Locked On Mavs. Part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day, being in every day. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We'll be back probably with Reg Atatula tomorrow night talking about the Mavs. And Nico Harrison said that the Mavs were a Klay Thompson away from winning a championship last year. So I found that really interesting. We'll talk about that tomorrow probably. A couple other guys that showed up to me. So we talked about OMax, talked about Melvin Ajinca. Those guys both have opportunities now, apparently. Brandon Williams, that was the best Maverick on the team. Again, like I said, 21 points, 7-15 from the field, hit a couple of threes, 5 assists, a couple of steals, was getting out there leading this team. They need a guy like that. And this is a guy that is obviously, Summer League is made for point guards like this. But I saw Brandon Williams make some good decisions. I thought I saw him get to the rim a couple of times, finish, and just attack and not be scared to attack the rim. Even when there was rim protectors there, he got a foul from Taylor Hendricks that was probably a little lenient on that one. Taylor Hendricks looked like he was getting vertical, but he got some free throws off of that one. Brandon Williams, he also had an absolutely insane mid-air putback where the ball's coming off the rim. He grabs it with his left hand, puts it in his right hand, and dunks it, which is like insane for a 6'1" guard. Absolutely wild. He had 9 points in the first quarter. He was kind of the one keeping him connected to this Jazz team. But some really good stuff from Brandon Williams. He's signed to the Mavericks on a two-way spot. I'm interested to see him more for the Texas Legends. And I think in a pinch, I think the Mavs could use him as a, third point guard off the bench kind of guy. Well, we'll see what he can develop into. I'm interested to see that. He also had two clutch free throws with 30 seconds left to get the Mavs within one. That was massive. To get the Mavs within one. OMax got a steal. Brandon Williams got fouled, hit 2 free throws. And then it was 88-89. The two players that I was kind of interested in watching as well, besides OMax and Melvin, were Emanuel Miller and Jazz Gortman. The Mavericks announced the other day that they signed them to Exhibit 10, training camp deals, whatever you want to call them, that they signed them to the training camp roster. These guys, most of the time, come in, play in the training camp, and then get cut immediately. The Mavs know who their roster is going to be. The Mavs don't usually go into training camp with like a couple of guys who are going to fight for roster spots. We usually know who the guys are going to be by then. And so I was just interested to see, what Emanuel Miller and Jazz Gortman look like. Jazz Gortman's more of a 6 foot, he's 6'2" with a 6'9" wingspan kind of guard. And so I was interested to see what he would look like. Hit a couple of threes, came in right away and hit a deep three. He showed some good passing instincts too. He's got that 6'9" wingspan, so his defense was pretty good. But he only got 10 minutes. But off the bench, he showed me a couple of things, and I was interested to see. I'm interested to see him going forward, see what else he's got, because he is, we have a vested interest in him now because he's on the Mavericks training camp roster. Emanuel Miller, a little bit bigger, like a 6'6" wing. He looks like he could fight you. He's like a UFC fighter, or maybe like a wrestler build. It just is looks like a huge dude out there, linebacker. He went 3 of 4 from the field, hit a 3, only 1 from 4 from the free throw line, but 3 assists for him, a steal, showed a couple of things off the bench. And they're the two Mavericks that actually showed some stuff off the bench, were the two that the Mavs signed. So I found that interesting and notable that both Emanuel Miller and Jazz Gortman showed some stuff and actually had some positive plays off the bench when those were the two guys that the Mavs had signed. So something to look out for going forward. They were helpful in this game for sure. Gave the Mavs some stuff. Marjan Sharp is the center. He's the 7'5" guy. He finished the game with 4 blocks. I think he should have had 5 or 6 or 7. I mean, he makes some wild decisions. He fell for multiple pump fakes from Kenny Lofton and other guys where you go, man, you're 7'5". Like, just stand up against him. Kenny Lofton's 6'7", 6'6". Like, you just stand in front of him. Don't fall for the pump fake. And then we wouldn't be in this position where everybody else is trying to catch up and do all that. It's a very frustrating thing trying to watch him in this game. But he was okay in this game. Couple of offensive rebounds, 4 points, six boards. You want him to finish stronger. It's like all the big man things. Like, I just wanted you to do a little bit better. But he's big, and he's gonna get blocks every time he's in there because he's 7'5". Derek Lively tweeted about him because Derek Lively was at the game, and then he went over and he was Derek Lively was taking over the Mavs social media during the game, and he tweeted, good block from another footer, which I guess means 7-footer to him. So he's giving a shout out. Great block from a fellow footer. Gotta love that. Yeah, but that's Jamarian Sharp. So if anybody asks me, like, oh, should the Mavericks add these guys? So far, the Mavs have had the guys that showed me something in this game, the Mavs have already signed. OMax, Melvin, Emanuel Miller, Jazz Gortman, and then Brandon Williams was the best one. AJ Lawson had some moments. 16 points, 8 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 of 5 from 3, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Had an absolutely insane chase down block, and then a layup on the other end. Couple other moments where he had, layup on the other end. But 4 of 16, missed 4 threes. For AJ Lawson, it's a little different than some of these other guys. Because some of these other guys, Melvin's the first time we've seen him against NBA competition. Some of the other guys, it's the same. AJ Lawson, we're like 3 or 4 summer leagues in now. And remember what I said about AJ Lawson going into summer league? Is like, all right, can you show enough? I think as much as Melvin can show things, I kind of think it's Melvin versus AJ right now. If Melvin Ajinca shows more than AJ Lawson, then the Mavs could easily waive AJ Lawson and bring in Melvin Ajinca, if that's what they believe. So we may not go into training camp with a competition, but we may be in summer league with a competition right now between these two guys. And so you saw AJ Lawson force some things a couple of times. But he's also just like this complimentary player. And what did Jared Dudley say about AJ Lawson and what he needs to show is he just needs to show toughness, show that you can guard the other guys, make good decisions. You hit a couple of shots, that's extra. I don't know that we saw a ton where it looks, besides that one, the chase down block and then the layup on the other end. I didn't think we saw a lot of moments where you go, oh, he's better than everybody else. He looks like an NBA player. He's standing out above the others. He looks like he could be a complimentary player on the Mavericks. Doesn't mean he can't be, but nothing really stood out to me. Couple of quick things that Nico said, and again, we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show for sure. Nico was sitting next to, Patrick Dumont was there, the Mavs' new governor, one of the guys in the ownership. So that was good to see him there. I think that, him supporting and seeing what the Mavericks are doing and all that. Nico Harrison was obviously in attendance. Quentin Grimes, Derek Lively, Najee Marshall, Jaden Hardy. We're all sitting courtside watching the Mavericks. So you got to love that. You got to love to see all of them together, especially the new guys getting in there. We've seen Klay Thompson in the Mavs facility. We've seen him donning the Dirk Nowitzki jersey the other day, which was awesome. If you haven't seen that picture, it's all over the Mavs social media. And so we saw all those guys together. It was good to see that. Nico was on the broadcast. He mentioned we were a Klay Thompson away. We feel like we got our guy. You got to love that. Got to love the confidence in bringing that in. He talked about Klay, and he said the force that Klay brings when he comes off of pin downs and comes off of screens, he'll help them, meaning Luka and Kyrie, get open shots because you're not leaving Klay open. And he's got a championship mentality. He's talked about Klay bringing those kind of things. He mentioned Lively. He talked about Lively. Lively got better every 10-game block. He anchors the defense. It's fascinating for me to look at what a 10-game block, that's how they evaluate players. And I think maybe we should do that on this show. Is every 10 games evaluate the young players. All right, what kind of progress are they making? What have we seen from these guys? So you just go 10 game blocks at a time. I found that really interesting. Talking about anchoring the defense, to me, I think Lively starts, and I think that if they keep talking about him like an anchor or like this generational defender type guy, that they'll start him. Nico talked about OMax, and he said he's a 3-and-D energy guy, physical defensively, can guard multiple positions. And he said this, once the game slows down for him, he'll be a player. That's been the whole thing with OMax. That's been the thing that Kyrie and all the veterans and everybody's been trying to tell OMax is that the game's just got to slow down for him. And once the game slows down for him, it'll be much easier for OMax to get it going, to show some more things. And hopefully one summer league game in, He got some of those jitters out. He figured out how to play in the context of this team, and next game will be better. We'll have a podcast covering that game. That's going to be, they'll play next on Monday night. That's Mavs versus Grizzlies. So we'll watch that game, and we'll have a podcast, obviously, after that game. But guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow night with Reggie Atatula. We'll be back with more Summer League stuff. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.